Today at Connect to Engage, we're welcoming individuals from the sales industry, and I would like to welcome our guest, Laura Morea, who's the Advanced Sales Director and Sales Leader with Pampered Chef. Hi,
Thank you.
Laura.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear about what you have to say about sales and Pampered Chef.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. All right. In about a minute, could you tell us your role in the sales industry and why you got into it?
Absolutely, I would love to. So my role in the industry as an advanced director with Pampered Chef and a leader with Pampered Chef is I do lead a sales team of right now about 100 teammates. So it is part of my job to lead, train, and support them in their business with Pampered Chef. Obviously, always leading by example is the #1 way to do that. And why I got into this business was actually a funny story. It was 21 years ago, so I have been with Pampered Chef for 21 years. And I was actually home with my 2 children, who at the time were 2 and 4, from my career in finance. And I found out about Pampered Chef, and I thought, well, maybe this is something I can try temporarily until I go back to finance. I fell in love with all of the products. So it's all about kitchen tools and kitchenware and how to help people get in and out of the kitchen quickly, easily, efficiently. And I fell in love with every product, and I thought I would give it a try for a few months and then go back to my career. Well, I quickly found that there was a career to be made with Pampered Chef by putting in effort. What I thought was going to be a part-time 3-month gig actually turned into a 21-year career, and hopefully for life.
Wow, that's a long time to be with one company, and an interesting way to get started with Pampered Chef. And
Yes.
I could see why you fell in love with their products, because I know I have a kitchen full and I do enjoy using them when I cook. Interesting. Thank you.
Excellent.
What is the role of effective communication within the day-to-day operation of your workday?
So that communication would be twofold, right? Because I have my clients, which now is, since COVID, has all been streamlined to social media, whether that be on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, even. So with customers, it's engaging them through the recipes, because everybody needs to eat, whether you reheat, whether you're on, a certain lifestyle restriction, there's keto and there's vegetarian. So it's bringing them the meals, but helping them to do things like not waste your left. Like, how many times have we had things in the refrigerator that just ends up in the garbage? So for me, part of my mission is to help them not waste, to help them save that time with our products. Even I teach them how to save money at the grocery store, how to stretch their meals so they can feed more people with the same amount of food, which may sound a little silly, but in this day and age, we know the cost of groceries is up there. So I'm live on Facebook, scheduling different types of videos and different types of specials, and just helping them to learn about not just the products, but about how cooking can help them and their families at home, because it really is something also for families. We know many children that cook, and they do say that when children cook, it creates better eating habits across the course of their lifetime, because they're used to making their own meals in the kitchen. With social media, it's very easy to dial up, but it's also very expensive to dial up. So that's communication with customers. But with my team, we do hold Zoom meetings once a week like this. The communication with my team is also really about just keeping them engaged and excited about what's going on, because working from home independently by yourself, you don't have a boss. You don't have somebody telling you what to do. You don't have somebody hanging over your shoulder, so to speak. And I've been in that position where I have, before Pampered Chef, was working in an office. So with my team, it's through Facebook and through emails, is sharing different ideas with them, sharing new creative ways to bring our tools to their customers, and how they can share the business with other people. Because really, this is one of the only businesses that I can have somebody try the Pampered Chef business with no experience. So it really is a unique business opportunity for people.
Interesting. And you said, one of the things you mentioned is you engage not only with communication, but with the recipes, which is an interesting dimension. When we talk about communication, we talk about engaging the people that we're with strictly through vocabulary and the words we choose, but food adds a whole nother dimension. So that is an interesting way to look at it. Thank you.
Of course.
Could you tell us about a time when communication resulted in a vital success or an epic failure at work?
Well, let's talk about success, because who wants to hear about failure, right? And I always say there's no failing. We fall and we get up, right? Somebody once said, don't make the comeback better than the setback. So those are some of the kind of things that I do practice with my team. Specifically what I just said, because we all have setbacks, but don't focus on the setback, focus on the comeback, because there's always something in the future. So I would say one success in particular, and this goes over the course of years, because of the communication that I do have with my team, everybody is counted as an individual, and everybody's goals are just as important to me, whether they are a small goal, because I work with people who are very part-time, who some people are just in this business for the friendships, quite honestly, because we are a tight-knit, fun community. And then we have other people who are full-time career, as I am. Doesn't mean that the full-time career goals are more important than the part-time goals, because for each person, their goal with Pampered Chef is their personal goal, and that makes it ultra important. So I think the communication overall has been vital, because I have many team members who have been on my team for 11, 12, 15 years. And in the direct sales industry, people can come and go, because people can try it, they can succeed, they can put they're all into it or not. So I believe with that communication that I do have with my team, and overall, maybe this is a roundabout way of saying a success, but to have many teammates with me for 10, 11, 12 years, to me is a tremendous success. We're one of the top teams in the company. And that's the reason why, because of that community, the communication. It's like any relationship. And I practice this always, whether it's a spousal relationship, a partner relationship, a friendship, the communication really is the main factor. So when we're quiet, I say that you're either flying solo on your own and doing great, or we have problems. So just communicate with me, whether it's always easy for people to communicate the highs, but it's harder for them to communicate when they're struggling. Right. So I do have a background in psychology. So a lot of that comes into my business. And I think that's part of the success of my business, the psychology and the communication with the team overall.
Well, kudos to you, Laura. It sounds as if you create an environment where your team feels safe and comfortable in expressing what's happening, as you said, positive or negative, because often in teams, if there's a toxic environment, then those instances of silence can grow, and it's detrimental not only to them, but to you and the team as well.
Absolutely.
Having a safe environment for communication is a crucial component in your success, from the way I see it anyways.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And let's see, what is the biggest mistake that people who are in your industry make when it comes to communication?
Not doing it. It's funny, because that was the first thing that came to mind. But I think that people, especially with most of it, 90% of it being online, I think people get caught up with it being online. Like, because if they have to text somebody, or if they have to send somebody a message, because once they put it down on paper, that communication, it's there forever. Mm-hmm. And we have to remember that it's not about us, it's about them. So I feel like the one biggest factor that would be a hazard to say is if somebody makes it about themselves, right? I did this, I did that. So people we know like to talk about themselves. People want to tell their own stories. So that's what I want to hear from people. And that's what I encourage my team to do. So I think when it comes to communication, keeping that door open for people and asking about them, asking what their needs are, asking, okay, we're talking about cooking. How many people are you cooking for? Do you need help with recipes? And letting them, giving them also the time to respond. Because I mean, I know I do this at home sometimes, and I try to stop myself in my own partner relationship. I ask a question and I talk myself right through it without giving my partner a chance to answer. So there's no perfect communication, but when it comes to business, that's what I really try to teach, is to take that pause, to let somebody answer your questions and make sure you're asking them questions. Because if it's not a question, then there's no conversation.
Correct. Very true. You make a good point. And self-awareness is one of the components of communication. Oftentimes, all of us may not be aware of what we're doing and or not doing. As you just said, asking a question versus saying something and thinking it's a question, but not giving the person an opportunity. So interesting points that you bring up. Do you find for your team that they prefer text and written communication or verbal communication?
Everybody would love verbal communication the most, because I feel like you hear somebody's voice and it has heart to it versus a text. But with social media being the way it is, and people, I mean, during COVID, my team went from local to nationwide. So for COVID was a blessing for us in that aspect. So for the people nationwide, time differences and being in different time zones, and just who has children, who doesn't have children, and scheduling. So text and messenger and all those DMs, it's all a great way to communicate. I do like using the audio features on all of that too. I do set calls with teammates. I do set calls with guests and hosts and customers and people that I work with. So, but I do love the audio feature, because there are many times where I've made friends on Facebook or Instagram with somebody who I've never met, and we've now had a relationship for, I mean, with some people, 20 years since I've started, but even more so since COVID, because I feel like that's been more apparent that it's been online. But I really feel the audio feature is a huge help. For instance, I could be texting back and forth with somebody, answering their question, and then I'll just pop on and say, can I leave you an audio? And they'll say yes. And, it's nice to put that voice with the face, with the text, and they are always so appreciative. So I do believe people want the phone call. I don't know if people always want to make time for the phone call. So I do feel the audio is a really great feature.
It's an interesting way to bridge the gap, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Written and the verbal. And there is a component of the voice that you can't convey in a text, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%, because you don't hear the tone of somebody's voice. So a little trick that I do teach my team when they're texting with somebody, which most of the business is texting, some of them are afraid to get on the phone. Some people just don't have that confidence level, and that's okay. This is where the practice and learning comes in. My one tip to them is always end any conversation, whether you're asking them a question or if it's the end of a conversation, with a little happy face emoji or a little chef emoji or just something fun. Because I feel like if a tone is not taken exactly the right way, if you end with a smiley face, nobody can argue with that.
Exactly. That's an interesting point and a good tool in their toolbox, besides the cooking tools.
Just, yes, no pun intended.
No pun intended. I had to throw that in. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all that information about communication in your business. Now, if you could share something that's on your bucket list, just for fun, speaking of fun and positive and things you may like to do in the future, what would be one?
My bucket list, my one bucket list, which has been on my list for a very long time, safari, African safari. For a month. If it's really going to be on my bucket list, it's going to be for the month, with tents and electricity and all that great stuff.
Oh, wow. Sounds fabulous.
But yes, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for that.
You have a date in mind, or it's still in the distant future?
I never did not think about a date. Maybe I should put a date in my affirmations book and make it become reality a little bit sooner. Because you know what, a date has to go, right? They say a goal without a date or a goal without a plan is just a goal. So I think I need a date for that. So I'll get on that.
Okay, get on it. Let me know. I want to hear all about it.
Thanks for the homework. That's fun homework.
That's fun homework. You can
Exactly.
dream. Dreaming is dreaming good things.
Absolutely.
Well, Laura, thank you for your time and taking the time to be with us here at Connect to Engage. We're excited to share everything you had to say with our audience, and we look forward to bringing you back on the show another time in the future with all your knowledge and expertise. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to be here. And I will say, come chef it up with me anytime, Anne Marie.
And I think I'll take you up on that.
Excellent.